Hey, what's up, guys? I decided to make another video, this time on the show Beelzebub. I actually have seen this before. I watched it a long time ago, and I saw Discotheque had a release on it during the Crunchyroll sale, which I think it might still be on sale, and I recommend it. Um, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit without spoilers and jump into spoilers, because I feel like a lot of the stuff I've been talking about recently, a lot of people know. And this show, I feel like, is less known. I feel like it probably was still popular. It has 60 episodes, one season, and I'm gonna read the back to explain what it is because I explain shit pretty shittily. When you're a high school delinquent known as the invincible rampaging demon ogre, you've got to look tough and cool. For Tatsumi Oga, however, it's hard to pull off when he's got a baby peeing on his head. Despite Tatsumi's best efforts, you can't seem to get rid of that kid. Ever since pulling a big man from a river, splitting him open, and finding a cute baby boy inside, the delinquent's been stuck playing caretaker. Sure, it's a little unusual. Maybe Junior's got a bit of a habit of shocking people, with lightning bolts. But it's not like the kid's a demon, right? Except that he is. The fact that baby Beal is the son of the great demon lord himself, sent to Earth in order to destroy all of humanity, according to his demon nursemaid, Hilda, and it seems like Bill's chosen Tatsumi to be his daddy thanks to his perfectly demonic behavior. Okay, so that's basically the plot, right? This is the demon lord's son, and Oga, I'm just gonna call him Oga, is chosen to raise him. So essentially, like what he says, he finds a man floating down a river who has the power to transport people and items from the demon world to the human world by opening up his chest, right? So that's how he finds him, and he's beating up these guys, and the kid feels like he's special because they only respect people with power and all this whatever. But so once again, try not to go into spoilers. This show has a bit of 2 points in it where he's a delinquent, and that's a very big point in the show where there's this kind of like gang rivalry between schools, which is something I've seen before, but it's really interesting in this show. They go to a high school. I can't remember the name at the moment, but basically, yeah. So they all go to the high school, and they're like this delinquent gang, and they have two sets of the story. Okay, I'm just gonna really quick go through non-spoiler stuff because I want to actually talk about it. But essentially, it's like him trying to get rid of the baby. It's a lot of comedy, but also some serious moments. Later on in the show, it especially has some more comedic moments. I think it always had comedic moments. What I mean, like where it kind of breaks the fourth wall. I didn't like that much, but if you're looking for something to watch, I'd highly recommend it. I believe it's on Crunchyroll if you don't want to get the set, but I'd recommend the set because it's just a very clean set, looks nice, um, especially if you can get it for a good price. But anyway, so now getting into spoilers. Okay, so this show, like I said, is essentially about two separate things. One is Tatsumi and Ogo, and Baby Beal. That's what they call him. And the other part is about the delinquents at the school, right? They set up this whole kind of thing where it almost feels like two shows sometimes, where Oga, tries to find the strongest people to pawn the baby off on, and he goes to the people at the school. And so there's this guy. I can't remember his name. He has a huge fucking pompadour. I literally just finished the show, but I'm shit at names. If you've seen the channel, you know this. But let's see if there's a photo of one. This guy, and then essentially, it's like he tries to find the strongest delinquents in school, and he beats them. And then you kind of follow them around as well, where it's like they do their own thing and they're connected to Olga, but they're kind of not friends, but they kind of are. They have this kind of loyalty to the school, like, oh, we're the strongest, and they respect Olga after a little bit. So it's like there's a lot of adventures with them, and then there's this all female gang in the school led by the red I can't remember, the flame something or whatever, and that is her. in the beginning. It starts off where she's the leader of the gang, and she hears Olga defeated all these guys. He's causing problems, whatever, and he thinks that she thinks that he's like an asshole. So she meets him undercover while taking care of her little brother named Coda, who's the same age as Baby Beal, and she falls for him basically. So the rest of the thing is like she finds out who he is. She's like, oh my god, I love this guy, whatever, and has a huge crush on him. But she still like ends up when she thinks that like he beat up her like other members of the gang. She goes after him, which I respected. So that was pretty cool. But other than that, I think So it's basically like just a few of the main ones, and then they end up like introducing a whole set of the Red Tails. That's the name of the gang. Um, and there's a few other recurring characters like with this guy who's the first guy that he fights. Um, his friends, this guy and this guy. So it's like them, and then the Pompadour guy and him. But he actually doesn't appear super often. Um, Getting into this a bit more, I kind of want to talk about the girl first, but so essentially, it's this whole love story thing, and the demon nursemaid who takes care of him doesn't like she kind of takes care of him. She lives with Olga by saying like, oh, it's his kid. He, banked or whatever, got her pregnant. They never explicitly say that, but she's like, oh, after what you did to me, you're not gonna let me live here or whatever, like to his parents. So essentially, like she's always lived with him. And I would have definitely preferred if they had a romance, just because they set up this whole kind of family dynamic of where she really loves Baby Beal, and she does grow to care about Olga as well. Even though she doesn't really admit it. Um, and knows that he cares about Baby Beal, whatever. So I would have liked that, but they go with this girl. I don't know if they get together or not because they don't get together in the anime. I'm pretty sure the manga's ended. This doesn't include like the whole story. It ends on like a pretty good place where you're like, okay, that's like a fine ending. Like things aren't resolved, but things are like it could be, but that's not the end of the story. Anyway, so she's kind of this gang leader, whatever. And at first, for a little while, I was getting really fucking tired of her because it was kind of like a whole was it Yuri thing from Spy X Family, where it's like that was the motherfucker's only personality trait was like he wanted to be with his sister romantically, and that was kind of how she was. In the beginning she had a little bit, but then it just kind of fell into oh I have a crush on this guy, acting all da 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 da. But then she eventually finds out it might be a little bit before this too, but she finds out that Olga, because he carries around this baby all the time, right? But he can't tell him it's a demon baby, or he never really tries to hide it, but nobody really listens. Basically, they explain it as like, uh, that like the demon world. They said like she's from the demon world, whatever, and that translates to like Macau or whatever. So they think she's from this other country, and then just a lot of people don't know that he's the kid's a demon and it isn't his. This is his best friend who's really good. That's a really weird fucking photo for the front cover. Like, damn, should give him more respect. But yeah. So not many people know about that. And she eventually figures it out, confronts him, and he's like, "Yeah, this is what I've been telling you. She's a demon. Whatever. Like, I've always told you this." And she's like, "Oh." So she finds out, and then they start getting kind of closer, and she becomes more like how she should be. Like, this she retires from the Red Tails because they can't be in a relationship because of that, whatever. And but they still kind of like take her as the leader almost, even though this other girl takes over. And so in the beginning, she's always just like after Oga. Like, he does something, she misinterprets it as like him flirting with her, whatever, and that was kind of it. But then towards like the later part, she finds out that he's a demon. They start to get like closer, and she's not like freaking out, flustered every time he talks to her. And she also becomes like back to like the gang leader like type area where like she's fighting and she's protecting, she's holding her own against demons and stuff like that. So I did like what they did with her, but I still would have just preferred Hilda. just in general, just because I feel like that would be really interesting in a good way. But I like her too, so I'm not too mad about it. I just think like from a story standpoint, would have been interesting. Trying to think here. There's yeah, so there's like a whole thing. There's like a whole bunch of delinquents, like I said, where basically like the school is like a gang war, gang turf wars type shit. And they even kind of explain like the school is not a school. In the first half of the show, the school is literally like this rundown piece of shit who like they don't do any teaching at all. Like there are no teachers. So it's just them like in the shitty classroom doing whatever until Olga destroys the school by accidentally getting too much of Baby Beal's power. Because he to show his power, he has to like have a person like a human. So he chose Olga, and Olga ends up defeating this guy who's like the strongest guy, and he doesn't appear for a while. They're like, oh, they're gonna fight. He can't win, whatever, and they tease it and drag it out for a while, and then he eventually ends up beating him. Even though it seems like he kind of wanted to lose to get rid of Baby Beal. At some point, like they just keep going on about that, but like you tell, like he doesn't really want to. And there are like points where he admits, like, yeah, I'm the parent. I'm taking care of him. I'm raising him, whatever. But they never completely get rid of like the oh, I'm gonna get rid of him thing. But so yeah, that's what happens with him. There's also this guy, Goodnight. I forget his fucking name. I think that's what they call him. Where all he says is good night, like in English. It's in English, and he's fucking sucks ass. He's one of the delinquents, like a weak one. Not that important, but I just thought that was interesting. Like, I'm trying to think. This is Alandon. He's the guy who Baby Beal was in, the transporter demon, and he basically like falls in love with Furichi, his best friend, and it's like always harassing him and shit. And Furichi's like this huge perv. Um, so it's an interesting dynamic. I think that the show really does kind of change from the beginning, where things just switch up. Like where there'll be a little while Farichi's not in the story. Like he'll be around, but he's not hanging out with Olga because Olga's doing something else. And they mention that. And then like the school will be destroyed. And they'll introduce all these new characters, and they go to this other school, and and then this guy, Tojo, he leaves. He just leaves. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go train to fight demons, whatever, because he gets beat up by demons. And the guy's just like, okay. So he goes to fight demons, and then literally at like the last, what was it? It is the last episode. I don't know what episode he leaves in. Like he's sporadic in it, but he leaves, and then like the last episode, he comes back, and the demons are already like gone, like they're done. So it does end up where the demons kind of create their own school with Baby Beal's brother, who's extremely fucking unlikable and annoying, and has no redeemable qualities at all. You love Baby Beal. Like you watch this and you love him. Like he's a cute kid. He wears clothes 4 times. I fucking counted 4 times. 5 if you count when Olga when he takes over Olga's body because of the what super milk time where to get all of his power he transfers basically so he takes control of his body and he gets the green hair and shit like that. But so that's kind of how that went. And they mentioned it kind of a few times. It's like, bro, like this kid is like butt ass naked all the time. It's just kind of crazy. Like, like I mean, like literally like 4 times. Like never wearing clothes. And it gets a little old. I think it's like, okay, give the kid some fucking clothes. Like, there's only so many jokes you can do with that. And his friend, Baby Beal's friend Coda, who's also Kuneda. That's the girl's name. The one who has a crush on him. Um, you know, her baby brother, which she takes care of, basically, has clothes on all the time. So, so, but whatever. Trying to think what else here. I think that some things like are like other anime, but it's also not. There's a point where where they introduce Kuneda's grandfather, and they're like, and he offers to train Olga, right? and Oga's just like, and whatever. Like basically, he's one of the most like I won't be taught anything. Like he's the best fighter. But when demons come along that are strong and finally beat his ass basically and stab Hilda, he's like, oh, okay, well, I have to get better. So then he goes to, but he won't train with the actual demon guy who's like offering to train him to increase his demon power. So then he trains with Kuneda's grandfather, and then eventually trains with the guy. So that was a bit annoying where it was like, okay, like, whatever. And then the training, you don't really see it on the episodes where they focus on the training. It's like a half and half. Like I said, how it's like two shows where the delinquents are trying to find Baby Beale's brother, Lord N, because Olga asked his friend to find him while he was training. Oh, wait, no, Hilda asked Lami, who is this girl right here, to find her, and she kind of is like an older sister type figure to her. So there's like this whole like gaming story where they go to the guy with the pompadour's house. He's like insanely rich. That's a big part, not a big part of the story, but a big part of his character. And he has this like whole setup, and it was actually some good episodes. I enjoyed that. It reminded me a bit of like video game high school, if you remember that, where like in the beginning they'd be fighting in the game, and you see the guy who's playing like in the game. It's like that. But anyway, so there's a lot of that, and I have to say I didn't really mind it. Like I think there were definitely better episodes than others, but there wasn't really one where I'm sitting there like, because even if like the other delinquents besides Kuneda and Fuichi, like he's a delinquent, like basically in name only. He doesn't really do anything besides being like a super pervert, and he can't fight anything. But besides that, like it feels pretty disconnected. Like he fights these guys in the beginning, and then he's off doing his own thing, and then you follow their stories and what they're doing, and and then they kind of connect and they get this like relationship where it's like just mutual respect, and they all care about the reputation of the school, and they're like this class like that's kind of together, bonded together, whatever. And I think that was well done. I just wish it was done a bit more, where they'll always kind of be mentioning Oga, but he's not there. Like they'll be like, oh, he's the strongest, he beat me, whatever. But the episodes are still interesting. I just wish there was a bit more of a. Well, there is actually quite a bit of connections, just not with Oga specifically. So there'll be a lot of episodes, like especially towards the end. The last, not the last, but like 10-ish episodes toward the end. They're like, it reminds me of Naruto when they put filler in the like just to get up to what is it, like 500 episodes. It reminds me a lot of that. And some of them are better than others. And there's also like they introduce like half segments where it's like partly one story and partly another for the episode. So it's like some SpongeBob shit, half and half in a 20-minute episode, 30-minute episode, I mean. But it's usually pretty interesting and I like it. And they set up, other characters' relationships, friendships, and stuff like that. And I think it's very well done and very interesting. There's also some very good Baby Beal ones. I think if I were to complain really about anything, it would be the lack of Baby Beal's like solo stories, right? Because there's this whole plot where he can't be more than 15 feet away from Baby Beal because he has this mark on his hand or he'll die or something like that. No, he will die. That's what they say. And so he never really goes on his own adventures that often. Sometimes he does. There's like a filler episode, like I said, toward the end, where it's like, well, it's only one part where he goes on his own adventure and shit like that. And I think if they did more stuff like that, like especially with him and Codex, they had like such good chemistry. They had an episode early on with a stray cat who, he kind of protects. He becomes his follower basically, Baby Peel's follower, and then he ends up going off to do his own thing. But Coda is with him, and it's just really good. Like they have a good relationship. Like they don't talk, Sometimes they'll put subtitles under what they're saying, like they'll be, goo goo gaga speak, and but they'll, show what they're saying, and I think that's pretty funny. Like sometimes it's actually hilarious, but I just would have liked a bit more of that. But obviously, I love Beal and Olga's relationship, the father son kind of relationship that they have going on. Like I said, I wish she would have admitted it a bit more, but other than that, I really have no complaints. Uh, I'm just once again trying to think of anything else. I think I'm going through pretty much like a lot of it. But like I said, it's like, oh, you know what this reminds me of actually? With two storylines, the show Chuck. That's one of my favorite shows, like of all time. And it's like the buy more store mixed with the spy mission stuff like that. Highly recommend the show, by the way, if you haven't seen it. Great show. But that's basically what this is, and most of it I want to say is just comedy, like it's funny moments, whatever. Obviously, which I don't mind. That comedy is a great genre. I just wish at towards the end they didn't break the fourth wall as much. Like, oh, if this wasn't a gag anime manga, whatever, I would be dead. Like stuff like that towards the end. They don't really do that much in the beginning, I think. But I'm trying to think like what else. There's no character I dislike in this show. Well, not no character. I don't like Alendon, like because he's like with Fruichi, whatever. Fruichi's like this huge perv, but he's like in love with Fruichi, and he's like very like they make all these like gay jokes and stuff, and it gets a little old to me. Like, and they back off a little bit, somewhat towards the end, and then they jump back into it, but. That's probably my only complaint where I just didn't like the guy. Like I kind of would have liked some more. Well, he has funny moments and he's not like a terrible character, but when he was with Farici, he's definitely kind of down there. And I don't know, but I just would have liked to seen like Farici like actually have some like a relationship tease or something. I feel like they kind of teased it with the with her. This becomes the Red Tails leader after she leaves. But yeah, so once again, I've been saying this. I'm just trying to think of anything else because I'm gonna like stop. I wrote some notes down which I haven't even looked at. Uh, Oda's whole family's pretty good. They don't take much of a focus, but when they're there, they're good. Um, oh, the magical girl episode. This was a filler episode where Alandon's daughter comes down and they have like this whole magical girl episode, and it was so good. Like I really enjoyed it. I've never really seen a magical girl anime. Like I've never seen Sailor Moon or anything like that. But it was a very good episode. Like pretty funny and just well done. Um, yeah, just trying to check anything else. Uh, yeah. Mostly just about like with his brother, which get introduced like later in the show. I think it's like maybe um, late 30s, early 40s when he gets introduced, and he's just extremely unlikable. Like I said, like he's this crybaby. And Baby Beal, has this whole thing where when he cries, he has electricity, and Lord N has the one where when he cries, it's like fire. And his demon maid servants are like fucking annoying as shit too. Like they have no, they're just annoying. Like I don't know, like I don't really fuck with them at all. They don't have anything super interesting about them. Like Hilda, you like Hilda. She's a good character. She's like sometimes like, pretty harsh on Oga and stuff like that. But others, she has her moments. And then there's Lord N, who never has one likable fucking moment ever. And then his maidservants that are just bitches. Like that's it too. I just don't like those type of characters where it's like they're just antagonistic and there's nothing really good about them. But if I had to pick a least favorite character, it would be Lord N because he's just fucking a crybaby. That's his thing, crybaby gamer. But yeah, I think that's about it for what I have to say. It's a 60 episode anime. It's all one season considered. I saw that it was like aired over like the span of a year or so, but Very good. If you haven't seen it in a while, I would suggest rewatch. It holds up. I think the animation's pretty good. Sometimes they don't show the fighting as much as I would like, where they just kind of cut around it. But overall, a good show. Something decent to watch. Something new if you haven't heard of it. But I've talked a lot about it, so you probably heard of it. But just anyway, recommend it. I definitely recommend this Discotheque release if you can get it. It's just a very nice set, and I'm always for supporting Discotheques. They're one of my favorite, publishers of anime DVDs and stuff. But that's about it for this video. Peace.